before the Beanie Bowl?
Yeah, you know, and tomorrow it's obviously just more of a practice, but there's a lot of game situations that we probably haven't covered, so we're going to meet first as a team before we do the thing tomorrow night, so it goes a little smoother, because it's only going to take an hour.
So what steps have you seen Nick Wilson take, and what steps have the training staff taken to kind of ensure that his body's in a good place to stay healthy?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just for him to continue to get treatments and rehab and work the muscles even when he's not sore. And I think that he stayed healthy. You know, we've limited his reps a little bit in camp, him and JJ both, but he's ready to go, and he's done a good job of working himself into shape, and he knows he has to continue to do all the things the training staff has to make sure he's as healthy as can be.
So you were very rarely in a situation last year where both he and JJ were healthy at the same time. Going into the year, you know what both of them can do. How do you go about getting both of them enough work?
Well, that's the easy thing. We can run two at the same time. You know, our pace of our offense, you know, dictates we usually play a few more plays anyway, and you know, we got to make sure we have a third one. And we have Zach Green, who is a reliable guy. He's had a really good camp. You know, Nathan Tilford has done some good things. Brandon Leone has done some good things. So there's right now we have a pretty good group, and that's not even counting some of the guys that are playing other positions. You know, we've stayed pretty healthy throughout camp at that position, and they've gotten good work in.
You obviously don't know what's going to happen injury-wise, but is running back the position that you feel the best about team-wide, would you say, as far as the depth and talent that you have
right
there?
now? Yeah, that probably is. I mean, right now it's probably, as far as experience, you know, with three guys really that have been starters coming into the season. But it's also a position that typically over the years for a lot of teams, is, you know, guys get nicked up a little bit. So we use them in a lot of different ways. You know, our guys have to be pretty multiple. In fact, you got to be able to catch the ball. We line them up outside sometimes, and obviously they got to be able to block. And Coach McGee's done a good job with them. The veterans have a pretty good grasp of our offense.
You mentioned Gary's going to play on special teams. Is Nathan going to play on special teams also?
Yeah, he's competing for some of them. I'm not exactly sure if he's on the ones on the first group, but he's competing for some of them, and I think Gary's on at least two right now.
Overall, in terms of just kind of the depth chart, have you gone any closer to kind of focusing in on maybe who's going to?
Yeah, we you know, really going to do this after Friday. You know, we want to see a little bit about what happens tomorrow, and then this weekend kind of come up with a depth chart for everybody. Because at that point, it moves from a position chart to a depth chart, I guess. But there'll be probably a lot of and/ors at different positions. At least I hope there is, because we got to find more guys that can play, or we got to play with.
Sure. So besides the lines, which you've mentioned often as being areas of concern, is there any other position where you're like a little worried about the depth, or things haven't quite come together the way you had hoped at this point?
Not from things not come together standpoint, but we're not, you know, from an experience standpoint, as deep at wideout as we've been. You know, we lost three really valuable seniors at wideout last year, so we were a lot deeper. We're not quite as deep there with experience. Has some talent, but not quite as deep with experience maybe as we have been.
You've been talking a lot about finding three quarterbacks that you can win with. Have you figured out who those three guys are at this point?
We've got four we're taking most of the reps with, in Brandon and Khalil, you know, Donovan Tate and Rhett, and all four of them are still getting reps, and probably all four will still get reps next week.
Can you expand on anything from past years, offensively or defensively, with this new group in terms of what you guys are able to do?
Well, we're even though we got a lot of young guys, particularly defensively, we're trying to expand and do more, because we have to, frankly, because of all the different schemes we have. You can't just lock into, we're not good enough just to lock into one scheme. And so the defensive staff has done a good job of having more stuff in their toolbox. And then offensively, we're doing more too. I still get nervous about that, but you know, the last 3.5 weeks, we've basically got to build our entire toolbox. You know, do we need it all for every game? You hope you can't rep it all, but at the same time, we've repped a lot of stuff, and now we got to hone in for each opponent.
Is that a necessity in the league, just because you see the team so many times and they kind of?
Well, yeah, not only that, but because you never know what's going to happen personnel-wise. You know, with injuries, you don't know how teams are going to defend you from week to week. It's going to be a little different, and you want to have enough that, you know, that we can execute. Of course, that's the most important thing, but also enough that you can keep teams off balance.
There was a story in spring about a redshirt proposal to tweak it so that it wouldn't necessarily be injury based, and that you could play a guy up to 4 games in a season and still preserve his red shirt. What is the status of that, and what do you think about it?
Well, I think I hope it'll pass and be implemented next year. It should have passed already. There's no reason why we shouldn't have it right now. I mean, that's one of those frustrations with implementation of a rule that's best for the game. I mean, everybody's like in favor of it, so why don't we just pass it right now? But it has to go through some process, and hopefully it'll be ready next year. But it makes a lot more sense. You know, then you can use your entire roster, and you're not worried about putting a guy just on a kickoff team and burning a year. So I wish it was in place now, but you know, it looks like we might have to wait a year.